Hello everyone, it's me, John again, and we're back with another edition of BrainScratch. In this episode, we're going to do some updates. We basically have a few short updates that aren't quite enough to do a full-blown episode about those items. So I'm going to wrap several of those updates here, including a little research that I've done that might, let's just say, might make you think twice about a certain publication that is covering one of our major cases. But to get started with, I wanted to do a quick update on the story about Lars Mittank. And just a quick shout out, I was just looking through the comment threads on the video. Anna Klein, thank you so much for all of the translation help you did. I also had someone contact me directly. Peter, thank you for translating a lot of recent articles. I'm sure we will do a full-blown Lars update at some point in the future. However, I found a very good video update by a BrainScratch fan known as Goruna X, which you might have seen him in the comments. He's pretty active, but he put together a video basically telling the whole story in a really cool way. I really enjoyed it. Now, the video is, I believe it's in German, but it does have subtitles that are in English, and they're done very well. And I kind of like hearing the German speak while I'm reading. There's something about it that that I found kind of soothing. Goruna has a great voice, and definitely a good mind for putting together this content and putting together the whole story, pretty much beginning, middle, and end about this mystery leading up to Lars's disappearance. So I just wanted to thank him for that, and he also gives a shout out to me at the end of the video, so I wanted to be sure to return the favor, give him a shout out. Also, he is a new up-and-coming YouTuber, so please give Goruna X some support. Check it in the description box below. You'll see a link to this video so you can go and watch it. And I'm not just giving it to you because of the cool production values. He actually has a lot of information that I did not cover, and that's something that native speakers have been able to do. They've been sending me this information, but there's a lot more about the conversations that happened between Lars and his mom, some information that comes in from the friends and other stuff like that. So you will definitely get information that we have not covered here on BrainScratch if you check out this video over at Goruna X's channel. So that is it for Lars. Now heading to one of our major cases. It appears that episode 6 of American Horror Story has finally touched, at least in some way, on the Elisa Lam theory. And I've been hearing from commenters that they think that, I mean, they know that, I believe it was a producer said that he was inspired by Elisa's story for this season of American Horror Story. But people that have been watching it have been telling me, you know, John, I'm really not seeing any connection here. It appears in episode 6, and this is from moviepilot.com, a review that they wrote of it. In this episode, we hear the terrible tale of Cara, an elementary school teacher who ended her own life at the Hotel Cortez and was left in the bathtub for 3 months, poisoning the hotel's water supply. This is directly inspired by the tragedy of Elisa Lam, who somehow fell into the water tank at LA Cecil Hotel, which was only noticed when guests complained that the water tasted funny. So I do believe that does seem like a pretty direct correlation. I'm sure to avoid any type of legal mess or defamation of character, that the producers and writers have decided to not incorporate Elisa's story directly, but are instead taking elements of it and working them in different ways. This seems like a pretty direct connection to it. So if you've seen anything else in American Horror Story that you think is tying to Elisa, please be sure to drop it in the comments. Let me know about it. I'm not watching it this season. I kind of fell out of love with it after the first season. I really loved the first season, but the second season just threw me for a loop, and I really haven't been back to the show after that. But if you're noticing other connections, please be sure to let me know about them. Now, that is not the only info we have on Elisa. There has been another deposition that apparently somehow the media has access to, but I have not been able to find. And Admittedly, I'm not downloading every legal document related to Elisa's case because you have to pay for them basically page by page, and some of them are rather large. But anything that's called a deposition, I am downloading, and I definitely would have downloaded this if I found it. But here we're going to check out cbc.ca. It's a Canadian news service, and they are saying Los Angeles Police Detective Wallace Tennille gave his thoughts in a deposition. The veteran detective was answering questions posed by a lawyer for the notorious Los Angeles hotel where the 21-year-old passed her final hours. My opinion is that she fell off her medication, and in her state, she happened to find her way onto the roof, got into the tank of water, Tennille told the lawyer. At the time, I think that water tank was maybe full, but as people used the tank, used water, unknown to her, the level was dropping to a point where she could no longer reach out and escape. And she died that way. Now I got to tell you, I have read a ton of theories, probably thousands at this point, at least thousands of comments related to dozens, if not hundreds of theories. And what the detective is stating here is another theory. He is not talking about having any evidence to point to him thinking this theory. Supposedly, the tank, in his mind, from this statement, I believe he needs to justify that the tank was full enough so that she could drown in it, but not full enough for her to be able to get out. And that's why he's made this assumption that the tank was full when she got in, was lowering as she was in there, and then it was too low for her to get out, and she drowned. Another piece of information that came out in one of my other brain scratches, and commenters have really been picking up on it, when I did the review on the Smiley case, or the Smiley face murders, is that we found a little factoid there that people are found face down in 97% of accidental drownings. Only in 3% are they found face up. That's a pretty significant statistic. There's just the physics of the body and how our arms and legs droop that basically turn us into what someone once described as a jellyfish, your legs and arms face downward. And that is why most typically the body, even if it starts being, if the person is drowned and it starts on their back, their legs and arms will eventually sink, and that makes them float face down. What is strange about Elisa's case is, at least according to the testimony of the maintenance worker, I believe his name's Santiago Lopez, she was found face up. And several commenters are asking me about his identification, that this was an Asian female, rather quickly, and assuming her body had been in that water for weeks, shouldn't there be some level of decomposition where, I mean, how was he so sure that it was Elisa? How did the press get that information so fast? It doesn't seem like there was a confirmation of identity phase. A lot of times in cases like this, and I have followed another case like this, they have to confirm the identity before that information is released to the media. But yet in Elisa's case, it seems like the same day that they were up on the roof removing her, the media was reporting on that identity being known. So how did that identification happen that quickly? Of course, logically, that they had a missing person they were looking for. This body obviously matched up to that missing person, but still, where did the positive identification come into play? I mean, this is a process that, we've all seen shows. A family member has to come and identify the body. They have to use dental records to identify the body. It seems like in Elisa's case, that step was just, either it was done very quickly or it just completely missed, and the media started reporting on it as being Elisa, possibly before the identification was done. But it still does raise a question. Back to Tennille here, there was some more information that came out. The detective said Lamb's appearance in the elevator video wasn't the only time she was seen on hotel surveillance tape. We did see her come in with two gentlemen. They had a box, gave it to her, he said. She went up to the elevator. We never saw them again on video. So it's interesting. Now we know there is other footage. Obviously, they didn't release that to the public. While she was a missing person, that might have been useful information, particularly if they were trying to find those two men. Now, I don't know if the LAPD did track down those two men, and maybe that's why they didn't need the public's help in terms of identifying those two guys or finding them. But I do find that kind of suspicious. And of course, what is the box? What were these two guys handing to Elisa? What was in that box? My co-investigator on this, he's dealt with some cases like this before. He says usually when there's a box like that, it's something really simple, like, it could be leftovers from dinner that night or something like that. But honestly, we don't know for sure. It's definitely something that's got my brain scratching a bit. So I looked again since this news story dropped for Tennille's deposition on the official court website. Did not find it, but I will keep looking. And of course, we are about 2 weeks away from the first court date, where the defense is going to try to have the case dropped by saying that there's just so much compelling evidence that they have that the judge shouldn't even process the case. And we will find out if that goes through or not in approximately 2 weeks. Hopefully my butt will be in one of the audience chairs as long as they allow it. Moving on to the third case and final case we're going to review today. A couple of turns in the Kendrick Johnson case. First of all, where we last left off, I told you that the Department of Justice had filed several motions with the judge that was running the civil case, asking to postpone that case so they can continue their discovery, and saying that essentially the civil case might damage their ability to properly investigate the Department of Justice case. The judge denied the motions. So essentially the civil case is going on. I have not heard of any additional motions being filed. So I don't know if the Department of Justice is just going to keep investigating, or honestly, the Department of Justice is working like a huge black box in this, and that's causing a lot of tension with people, I believe, on both sides of this matter. A lot of people, this is a long time for an investigation to be going on. It's now entering its third year, which, of course, supporters of any type of conspiracy theory are thinking, hey, there is something that is obviously coming up. They're finding pieces of it. They just haven't put the whole case together yet. Other people are thinking that this is some kind of stalling tactic, and perhaps it was to get to the other recent development, which is that the U.S. Attorney, Michael Moore, that was basically responsible for starting that case, has resigned. Now, he has not stated any particular reason for resigning. There is a few news articles that are being written where they're talking about, what a great job that he did. They mentioned several cases that he helped file charges on that have come through. And there are other comments from, basically it seems like that law enforcement defense fund that I told you guys about, that I'm highly critical of, because if you check out how they spend their money, they're basically raising a lot of money for themselves, and then it seems like a very small amount of that money is going to help the supposed people they say it's supposed to help. But another aspect of this whole case has been ringing with me very hard recently. And I've had some commenters and people in private communication with me that are letting me know that there might be something else at play here in terms of some of the media coverage that's going on with this case. Obviously, the Valdosta Daily Times is very close. They're a local paper. They're on the scene, and they've been covering this case exclusively. I've seen several of their articles republished by other news sources. And quite honestly, I've been reviewing them regularly. As a matter of fact, in one of my previous KJ videos, I think that I've been somewhat critical of the main crime reporter there, Adam Floyd, because it does seem that a lot of his articles are written with a certain kind of bias. And even in the news of Michael Moore resigning, there was a strange thing that happened. You have one article on the 13th, which I'm not sure if Adam just wanted to rush something to print, but this is a very, what I would consider a clean article. I would consider this a good piece of news reporting. It is a simple statement of facts. The judgment and tone that I keep feeling in Adam's articles does not exist in this article whatsoever. However, the next day, Adam had to release another article, and this one is called Praise, Criticism, Greet U.S. Attorney Michael Moore's Resignation. He cites praise from, let's see, we have Middle District Senior Judge Hugh Lawson, who has a couple of nice things to say about Mr. Moore. And then, of course, they get into the Kendrick Johnson event a little bit. And then at the bottom of the article, here's the statement. Here's where it starts. Now, a retired FBI senior official is calling on Moore to release the information his office received in 2013, which prompted the federal review, now in its third year. A retired FBI senior official. Well, what could that be about? Ron Hosko is a former assistant director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, an organization that takes a lot of money for themselves and then puts a few pennies towards the causes they say they support. An organization that provides financial support and legal advice to law enforcement personnel. So first of all, I have to question if an assistant director is really considered senior. Is that what, how did we state it back here? Retired FBI senior official. Senior official that is an assistant director. I've worked at several companies where even the title of director can be seen as a bit of a joke. It is given out so widely. It is ultimately just a title of manager in many large organizations. And the fact that this guy is an assistant director tells me that that rank is probably not all that high. Of course, he's also working for this law enforcement defense fund that I don't hold a lot of stock in. But I found it interesting that that comment had to be coupled up in this article. Once again, it's strange because this is a perfect example of where Adam Floyd is failing me. The first article on the 13th, statement of facts, very straightforward, could not detect a hint of bias in it. Second article, why write about praise and criticism? You've stated the facts, and as far as I can see, these are not editorial pieces. These are actually being passed off as some type of investigative reporting. It's really tough for me because I've seen so many of Adam's reports, and even the titles, they always seem to err with the side that the Johnson family is wrong for some reason. If there is a step that happens that seems to be taking away legitimacy from their claims, the titles of the articles and the contents of the articles seem to endorse that point of view very strongly. Now, honestly, maybe I'm a crackpot. You guys can take a look for yourself. Go to Valdosta Daily Times, just search on Kendrick Johnson, and you will see tons of articles. I've read a vast majority of Adam Floyd's articles about Kendrick Johnson. And there's a piece of information that I would consider full disclosure that is not appearing anywhere in those articles. And you can find this out for yourself by doing a pretty simple search on LinkedIn and checking out Adam Floyd's history. So here is Adam Floyd's LinkedIn page. And here for current, we've got him at the Valdosta Daily Times, also something called Black Crow Media. Previous, Lowndes County Schools. Really? Isn't that the same school system that this whole thing happened in? Same school system which has several named defendants on the case that the Johnsons are prosecuting or carrying to civil court? He couldn't have worked at the same school though, right? Yeah, let's see. Just to read his summary real quick. After 7 years of teaching literature and journalism to high school students? No. He couldn't have worked at the same high school. Now, if he did, I'm sure he would put that in towards the bottom of every article, you know, hey, just in full disclosure, I'm a former employee of this school system that is now being sued by the Johnsons. No? I've been involved in radio broadcasting. As a matter of fact, there's a little sample link that you can get to, short voice work demo, a 60-second compilation of various production pieces and voice work featuring commercial reads and character voices. I love great characters. You guys know I'm an old comedy guy, improv guy, so I just wanted to hear some of Adam Floyd's work here. I wonder if he did
Make this holiday one unforgettable adventure for the whole family at Wild Adventures Theme Park in Valdosta.
Okay, class. I call this move the jam on it.
Sweet. Hey, what are you doing?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a second. Was that just the equivalent of radio black voice or blackface that I've heard?
Okay, class. I call this move the jam on it.
Not that I'm saying that that makes this guy a racist. I don't think it makes him a racist necessarily. Not at all. It just means that maybe he has some sensibilities that are a bit less than respectable to the African American community. Maybe it just means that he's just ultimately not very creative and he thinks that character voices are ethnic stereotypes. Not sure, but let's continue our investigation on his LinkedIn here. For some reason, he lists every college course he took, which I've never seen done before, and for good reason. That is a nightmare headache to try to read, and I don't think it really proves a whole lot in terms of your self-worth, but that's just me personally. Literature journalism teacher, Lowndes County Schools at Lowndes High School. So we now confirm. As a matter of fact, he also taught 10th and 12th grade pre-advanced placement literature classes and served as a faculty advisor and instructor for the journalism program and the award-winning student newspaper, The Saga. Well, when was he there? January 2006 to 2013. Interesting he doesn't put the month, but what happened to KJ was pretty early in the year. It was in January, so I'm pretty sure if he was out of there by December, he would have put 2012. If we look at his continuing employment, yeah, he's at the Valdosta Daily Times starting in September 2013. I wonder if that means that he was actually working at the school at the same time that this whole event happened. And we're trusting him to be an unbiased, independent source of news for reporting on this matter. I wouldn't hold any stock with the Valdosta Daily Times, and this is yet another example, in my eyes, of media gone wrong. It's one thing for you, let's say he's the only crime reporter there, okay? And this is obviously going to be covered in his territory. It's going to be under, let's say it was his beat specifically that he was covering high schools. And the Valdosta Daily Times could not afford for another reporter to cover this for some reason. That's no problem, as long as you practice full disclosure and put a little tagline at the bottom of each article saying, I'm a former teacher that worked at the school at the time that this occurred. That would be quite simple, and quite honestly, I would respect that a lot more than this semi-slanted, I even struggle to call it reporting. This is editorializing at that point. And I'm fine with that as long as there is full disclosure in this. Now people can say, well, his LinkedIn is public about it, so he's not trying to hide it. Yeah, that's not the same as presenting evidence, calling it news, and then leaving a serious piece of that evidence out. How do we know that this man is not still in some way being paid by this school county system? Does he have a pension from there? Does he have some type of 401k or some type of retirement service that he's going to be getting from there? Would he potentially risk that by saying something bad about his former employers? Probably not. That is the reason for full disclosure. And quite honestly, there is so many emotions charged around this. I even have commenters that are telling me, hey John, you're biased in this, you're biased in this. I don't know what part I'm biased in, which is, you know, I have people that say that I'm kind of being critical of the Bell family. I am critical of some specific actions the Bell family took. Very, very specifically, they did not participate in the initial investigation. Now they're running to the media saying whatever they want to say because it has affected them personally, when they could have headed all that off if they did the simple step of being a good citizen. A simple good citizen. Now, even outside of all that, I am not saying that that is to implicate them. I'm not saying that that proves that they had anything to do with what happened to KJ. I'm just saying they took some steps that were really, really bad. They continue to take steps that don't reflect the same qualities of those original steps. And some people might see that as suspicious. But the news reporting on this is a mess. And it's not just Adam. I don't want to just single him out, although, man, that stupid voice that he did on that radio thing, if I was him, I would take that clip down right now, because first of all, it's not even that good. But secondly, man, dude, you live in Georgia and you're doing a blackface voice like that? I mean, that dude, this is, man, I'd expect that 60, 70 years ago. I don't expect that out of current people or current media being created. But it's not just Adam. I'm seeing it in other articles too. And this Hosco dude for the Legal Enforcement Defense Fund, he is not helping any aspect of this case. And quite honestly, what he's asking for is a joke. I have never heard, and in particular, you know, we talk a lot about the LAPD and their lack of transparency, but what organization that is actively investigating a case is going to release their reasons for investigating the case? It's completely unheard of. There are certain simple truths in this. Has it been going on too long? Even by my opinion, yes, this is going on way too long. Did they raid the Bell family a few months ago? Yes, we know that that is a fact. How do those raids happen? They need to convince a judge that they have enough probable cause for that to happen, and they passed that. So something is going on with that investigation. Does Michael Moore stepping down at this time have anything to do with this KJ case? We have no idea. He might have found out his wife is pregnant, or he's got a family member dying. There are so many different things that motivate people to change their careers, to stop working, that we can't just make that assumption. But if you read these articles, well, it sure seems like, oh, the main guy in the KJ case, he's stepping down. And people are saying, oh, he could be in trouble for what he was doing because he can't prove that any of it was worthwhile. It's a bunch of crap, and it is not good news. It's not good news for either family, and it is definitely biased. So, Adam, if you do see this, man, in the interest of full disclosure, I would just add a little tag to the bottom of these articles. Quite honestly, you have no reason to listen to me, and quite honestly, now I have a very good reason to look at your material with an even much more critical eye. That now that I truly understand your bias, I just wish that you would do that for all of your readers so that they could understand where this tone is coming from and not make an assumption that you might actually be trying to persuade public opinion on this active court case, which is something that some of us might assume at this point. Very, very tough. And once again, my heart goes out to both families. I do agree this DOJ thing is going on too long. I would love to know what's motivating them in all this. I would love to see whatever evidence they think they've drummed up of possible conspiracy, people tampering with witnesses, hiding information. I don't know if we will ever see that. But now with Michael Moore stepping down, the case is being handed over to attorneys apparently in Ohio. And quite honestly, I've worked with lawyers for a long, long time. I think that's only going to delay this entire process and give the new lawyers a relatively easy excuse of, hey, look, we just got this case. We're having to start from scratch and reinvestigate, reread all these materials. It's probably going to take them a couple months just to get up to speed with the current status of the case. So ultimately, I wish this DOJ part of it was over already. I wish the families could go on with the civil suits and be done with it. I still have not heard anything about the Bell family refiling, which supposedly they have up to 6 months to refile their Ebony lawsuit. We're still wondering why they started that process and stopped it. No official comments on that. But just a lot of very strong feelings all over the place on this case. A lot of people are still coming to me and asking me about racial motivations. And man, it's getting tough. I don't want to believe that there are racial motivations that made what happened to Kendrick happen to Kendrick. But I can tell you, in the aftermath of what happened to Kendrick, there are definitely racial motivations on both sides of the coin here. A lot of charged feelings, and when people want to take a cheap shot, I think that's where these kind of racially charged sentiments will rise and come out. And it seems like a lot of people are not aware that they're doing that. They're not very conscious of themselves doing that, which really, really sucks. and I believe is also a state of where we're at in America right now. So that is your Brain Scratch for today. I didn't know that last segment was going to go so long, but thank you so much for sticking with me. And just know that I appreciate, this is Thanksgiving out here in the US, and I've been looking at this past year, and one of the main things I can say that I appreciate the most is how Brain Scratch has been growing, how the subscribers just keep coming on board, all of your wonderful comments about the work I'm doing, all of your challenging comments about the work that I'm doing. In short, all of you guys. I'm very, very thankful for you being here and being a part of this. So thank you so much, and I look forward to what we're going to do in 2016. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care of each other, and I'll see you next time on Brain Scratch.